Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports. I know it's been a couple days since we last posted. That's because I was busy getting my degree. I finished my graduation from college, and now here we are with more Utility Sports content. So thanks, guys, so much for bearing with us here as we had a couple off days. So now in this video, we're coming at you with a little bit of an NBA trade discussion, especially centered around three teams here. I think three teams that are all looking to make some moves at the deadline and all find themselves in a few different scenarios. That is, of course, the Brooklyn Nets, who currently are number one in the Eastern Conference at an 18-8 record, 7-3 in their last 10 games as well. So they've been playing some good basketball as of late. Then we have the Indiana Pacers, a team that has not been playing super great basketball this season, find themselves at 12-16, but they are on a three-game win streak, just beat the Dallas Mavericks the other night. And they've got some nice young pieces I think they could build off of, as there's rumors from The Athletic that they are looking to start a rebuild, which is very atypical for an Indiana Pacers team. We know that management, their ownership likes to stay very competitive, keep fans in the building, but currently they find themselves 13th in the Eastern Conference, and that's not good enough. They want to be a playoff team. They want to be at least in that play-in, and I think a move like this maybe could spark that, at least for the future. And then the Philadelphia 76ers as well, of course. Right now, the Ben Simmons drama having its toll on their season, 14-12, currently a half game back of the Cleveland Cavaliers at the time I'm recording this. I don't think a lot of people expected that 26 games into the season, but nonetheless, here we are in this three-team deal. There's going to be a lot of moving pieces. You're gonna have to bear with me a little bit as we go through the actual trade discussion here, who's getting moved, and of course, you're gonna have to understand some of my reasoning on why I think this is going to happen. And I think this is a good plug as well to follow us on Twitter as we tweet some of these things. Also check out our Instagram, TikTok as well in the description. Now, without further ado, let's jump into it here with the actual trade. In this trade here, we've got some stuff happening. Okay, this is who the Brooklyn Nets would bring in. Of course, all four players coming from Indiana as they're looking to start their rebuild. One interesting thing to note, Malcolm Brogdon cannot get traded this year because of when he signed his extension. He is ineligible for trades. I wanted him to be a key part of this trade. However, it just does not work this season. And I think the Nets, with their current contract situation, are going to look to be aggressive. If Kyrie Irving refuses to get vaccinated based off of New York State laws right now, he cannot play for the Brooklyn Nets in home games, which really hinders their chances in the NBA playoffs, especially when you have to go up against other powerhouses like the Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks. It is going to be difficult for Brooklyn to walk through those series like they had hoped when they built that big three, when one of those big three players is not available to play in those games. Here, they're trying to get some roster balance. I think it's pretty clear and evident that they just do not have a lot of really good depth around their organization right now, especially with Kyrie out. It really has led them to a little bit more susceptibility. I think this really does solve a lot of their issues, bringing in these four players. Myles Turner is the key one here for them. You get a true dominant center who can stretch the floor, but also I think is an underused player offensively in the half court, can give them a little bit more offense when either Kevin Durant or James Harden are off the floor. He can be that third guy for them, in my opinion. I think he's got enough talent, fits their scheme, what he's going to look to do. They can still run their 5-out offense, give some spacing to Harden, give some spacing to Durant. He's also really good in the pick and roll game. When utilized that way, can be a pick and pop threat. Very versatile offensive player and a great rim protector as well, giving up less than 50% field goal percentage on attempts around the rim. And then also being very productive as well, leading the NBA in blocks again for the second year in a row at the time I'm recording this video. And then I think the two other key players here in this deal, Jeremy Lamb and Justin Holiday. Of course, Lamb only got 1 year left on his deal, but there's a lot of pressure on the Nets because James Harden is going to be an unrestricted free agent this year if he declines a player option, which I'm almost certain he will. And without Kyrie Irving, his future being uncertain, very possible that they could lose James Harden as well to a sign and trade situation potentially. The Nets then would be left with only Kevin Durant potentially by the end of the year. So they're going to be very aggressive trying to win a championship. This is why this makes sense here overall. Jeremy Lamb comes in. He's a very nice guy. You could bring him off the bench next to Patty Mills. You just get another guy who can handle the basketball and also make some things happen off the bounce, which I think the Nets are really badly missing. Jeremy Lamb, also a pretty good spot-up shooter. Then you get Justin Holiday, who's a very good spot-up shooter and a nice long perimeter defender as well, which is another key element the Nets are missing. They just don't have enough defense right now. I think their game against the Bulls the other night really showcased that, when Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan can really get whatever they want off the bounce. Luka Doncic as well in their game against the Mavericks. I know the Nets did pull that one out, but the Nets have trouble stopping people right now. And Justin Holiday would be a very nice acquisition to that. And then Torrey Craig too, someone who played meaningful minutes last year in the playoffs for the Phoenix Suns, comes in. They got him on a very good contract. You're adding a lot of perimeter depth here, for the Brooklyn Nets, which is one of the key areas on this team that they do not have. They did not do a very good job in free agency, bringing in a lot of good role players. I think Cam Thomas is going to be someone who grows into a consistent key player for them. But at this point, I'm not sure if it's soon enough, or if it's too soon rather, to rely on Cam Thomas going forward. So these are the key 4 players going to Brooklyn in this deal. Of course, this deal does not work until after December 15th based off of some of the other guys going out. And then here, the 76ers get Kyrie Irving. So this is the premise of the deal. Kyrie Irving goes to Philadelphia. And then the 76ers also bring in a collection of draft picks here, a bunch of second rounders from Indiana, and a first rounder this year, lottery protected, that has a first round backup going into next year, into 2023. That is unprotected. So you're looking at Indiana here looking for a short-term rebuild, which is what their goal is. They do not want to be bad for it ever. They want to be competitive. They're going to want to have this be a snappy, quick, hey, we're going to retool our roster, make some changes, and try and win games with Rick Carlisle. Remember, they're paying him nearly top dollar for an NBA head coach. They want to be competitive. They want to win, and they want their rebuild to be expedited. And for Philadelphia, getting Kyrie Irving is a game changer. And of course, you're going to assume that Ben Simmons is out. That is the truth here. So Ben Simmons goes out the door. You bring in Kyrie Irving. He can now play in Philadelphia based off of state law. He is eligible to play for the 76ers. Vaccination status does not matter at this point then for him once he gets traded. Now, key thing to this, Philadelphia, of course, is going to have to sit down with Kyrie Irving before a trade ever goes down. They're going to need to get word from him that he's not going to retire. He's going to join the team. He's in good shape, and he's ready to play. This is based on the idea that the 76ers do not want to let go of a year of Joel Embiid's prime. He's playing such great basketball right now. They want him to be surrounded with a guy who can really elevate play. You have Kyrie Irving there now. You've got, of course, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris as well. A lot of really good players there in Philadelphia. Kyrie Irving really elevates the ceiling of this team and is perhaps their closer down the stretch of games. We've seen him do it on the highest stage before. And I think once he lands in Philadelphia in this 3-team trade, he's immediately able to do it again. Not to mention with some of the uncertainty around Kyrie Irving long-term with the player option, all that stuff, that you're looking at bringing in a few extra assets as well. Maybe lets you make a couple other moves at the deadline. We know Daryl Morey's been historically very aggressive when he's had to be to try and win, and I think these picks would do him well on the trade market. And then going into Indiana here, the key player here, of course, you bring in Ben Simmons. You also get a couple second-round picks from the Brooklyn Nets. So you see them giving up a little bit more soon draft picks, but getting a few second-rounders down the road. And then you also bring in James Johnson. That's a cap salary move. Of course, when Brooklyn's getting Myles Turner in this deal, they do not any longer need James Johnson. I know he's been playing quite a bit this year, but that's part of the issue there with Brooklyn. And then they also give up Nick Claxton, who's expiring, and then David Duke, who's a nice young two-way player. I liked him a lot coming into out of college in some of my draft coverage last year. David Duke's a very nice guard, 6'5", very athletic, and is someone who's moldable for Indiana. Could be a nice piece of their backcourt long-term. And I don't think this is the end of moves here for Indiana either. Bringing in Ben Simmons, the goal here for me, if you are Indiana, which I think this is a highly likely trade actually, because Indiana has worked with Brooklyn in the past in multi-team trades. Think about the Victor Oladipo, Karis LeVert deal last year. For me, if you're Indiana, the goal is keep Karis LeVert, add Ben Simmons to that, and then try and move on from there. Hope that TJ Warren comes back, and probably look to move Domantas Sabonis, bring in a collection of assets, bring in some nice young players, because Domantas Sabonis, of course, their most valuable player on this team, the guy who's going to have the most value in the trade market, can probably coop you back a few nice players as well. And I think does make a lot of sense for Indiana to move forward with Ben Simmons, Karis LeVert being your two main players that you want to build this franchise around. You need some shooting off of those two. That's not hard to acquire, especially in today's NBA when there's so many good shooters coming in every single year. You can find shooters. Those guys are relevant in the trade market. Of course, a guy like Ben McLemore right now, maybe for Portland, he's a guy to watch at the trade market deadline, or maybe even in the buyout clause area because of what he can do on the basketball floor. I know he's not an elite shooter, but when you have space, he's able to knock it down. He's a guy that I could see sliding in some places. And for Indiana, they're going to be able to find shooters around Rick Carlisle's offense. Ben Simmons, I think, is a phenomenal fit into what Rick Carlisle likes to do. Can be that roll man in a pick and roll situation. Can also be the ball handler there. We know how good he is at disguising handoffs and keeping it himself going downhill. He's a player that I think Rick Carlisle would love to have. Of course, I'm a Mavericks fan, so I know exactly what Rick Carlisle likes and does not like. And Ben Simmons, to me, is someone he's going to actually really fall in love with the skills he brings on both ends of the floor as a playmaker, someone who can handle the rock in transition, and then also someone who can finish above the rim when throwing lobs. And I also think that Ben Simmons just needs to get put in a situation where he's told, hey, you're one of our main players. We want you to go score. We want you to go be aggressive. So far in Philadelphia, he's been hindered by Joel Embiid being there with him and also coaching. Brett Brown, Doc Rivers, I don't think have fully pulled the best out of Ben Simmons yet at this point. This is a key aspect to the trade here for Indiana, is getting Ben Simmons. They view him as a big-time piece for them, and then moving forward, trading Domantas Sabonis. So again, a quick little recoup here. 76ers get Kyrie Irving, a few draft picks as well. Brooklyn gets a bunch of players from Indiana to really fill out their rosters. Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday, Myles Turner, Torrey Craig. And then also from there, the Pacers get James Johnson, Ben Simmons, the headliner, Nick Claxton, a nice young big, David Duke, a nice promising young guard, and then a couple second rounders in the future as well. Interestingly enough, they actually project that the Nets lose more games because of this, but I don't think that's true. I think that they are factoring in that Kyrie Irving has been playing, which he obviously has not been. So I think that this is a little misguided based on the plus minus for wins. But at the end of the day, I think this is a very interesting trade to discuss. Go follow us on Twitter, go follow us on TikTok, and let me know in the comment section what you think about this. We got the trade deadline coming up here in February, but of course, the key date, December 15th, that's when most of the league becomes available for trade in a lot of situations. So we'll have to watch for that moving forward. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.